Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Newsbrowse News broadcast. CBS News reports that Hungary's new leader, Peter Magyar, faces a difficult and expensive challenge in fulfilling his campaign promise to wean the country off cheap Russian energy. Magyar, who defeated longtime leader Viktor Orbán, had described Orbán as a puppet of the Kremlin and pledged to reduce Russia's influence. However, Hungary has deep ties to Russian energy, relying on the Druzhba pipeline for crude oil, Gazprom for natural gas, and Rosatom for its nuclear power plants. Being landlocked and having refineries calibrated for Russian crude makes diversification technically and financially challenging. Experts like Sergei Vakulenko suggest alternatives exist, such as the Adria pipeline for oil and the continental European grid for gas, but these would come at significantly higher international market prices. Magyar's expected foreign minister, Anita Orbán, no relation to Viktor Orbán, has prioritized reducing Russian energy consumption. While Magyar targets a 2035 cutoff for natural gas, acknowledging the EU's 2027 deadline might be infeasible for Hungary. He is expected to seek more structural funds from the EU to ease the financial burden. The transition is ultimately a decision between principles and economics. Israel's High Court has commenced hearings on petitions seeking the removal of the country's far-right national security minister, Itamar Ben-Gvir. The central argument presented in these petitions is that Ben-Gvir has actively undermined the operational independence of the police force. These calls for his ouster are notably supported by Israel's Attorney General, Gali Baharav Miara, highlighting a significant legal and political challenge to the minister's authority. The case underscores ongoing tensions regarding the balance of power between political leadership and independent state institutions in Israel. This news comes from Al Jazeera. UPI reports that the U.S. government has authorized new financial operations with several Venezuelan state-owned banks, a measure that partially eases sanctions implemented in 2017. The Office of Foreign Assets Control, OFAC, announced the decision allowing U.S. companies and entities to conduct transactions with the Central Bank of Venezuela, Banco de Venezuela, Banco Digital de los Trabajadores, and Banco del Tesoro, as well as some government-linked individuals. This includes a broad range of financial services, but does not unblock frozen assets. Analysts view this as a strategic policy shift by Washington, aiming to reopen limited economic channels amid a gradual rapprochement with Venezuela under acting President Delcy Rodriguez, who has been praised by the Trump administration. The move follows Venezuelan legal reforms to attract foreign investment in oil and mining, requested by the U.S. NTD News is broadcasting a replay of the House Subcommittee on Workforce Protections hearing, which took place on April 15 at 10:15 a.m. ET. The primary objective of this hearing was to delve into and understand the comprehensive economic impact of artificial intelligence, AI, on both the workforce and businesses. Discussions aim to explore how AI technologies are shaping job markets, transforming worker roles, and influencing employer strategies in the rapidly evolving economic landscape. According to the Epoch Times, the International Monetary Fund announced on Tuesday, April 14, that it has lowered its economic growth forecast for China in 2026 to 4.4%, a 0.1 percentage point reduction from its January projection. This revision reflects the economic impact of the ongoing Iran war. IMF chief economist Pierre-Olivier Gourinchas also urged Beijing to reduce its reliance on exports for economic growth, noting that China's official target for 2026 is between 4.5% and 5%. The IMF highlighted that weak domestic economic activity, particularly in the housing market, continues to constrain China's growth. The report predicts a further slowdown to 4% by 2027, attributing this to structural challenges such as a prolonged real estate slump, a shrinking labor force, declining returns on investment, and slower productivity growth. The Iran war's broader impact, including rising commodity prices and reduced global purchasing power, is expected to further suppress China's exports, whose growth momentum already slowed in March 2026. The IMF also lowered its global GDP growth forecast for 2026 to 3.1%, citing cascading effects from the conflict. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.